Kate?
Yep, got you.
Okay, we're good. And my echo's gone. Well,
Okay,
wow.
great.
This is always the first time for everything in life, you know? And just when things were going smooth, we had good signal. We ended up with some technical difficulty. What I would like to do is welcome those that are joining us live and that have been patient for the past 3 minutes as we navigated through this challenge here. We have Anita Johnson joining us, Christy, Katrina. We also have Alina, Rich Say coming in. We also have Marcy Jimenez. I think you know Mrs. Marcy Jimenez coming in from.
I do know Miss Marcy Jimenez. Hello, beautiful, beautiful lady.
And so, what I'd like to do is invite you to really just start to share your story and where you feel comfortable to begin your backstory is where we begin, and we'll just go from there. I just want to say one quick thing is that my intention is to create a safe space for you at any time. If I should ask a question with you that does not feel comfortable, you can set a loving boundary with me, and I will respect that boundary for you. Well, in any event, welcome and thank you for joining me, coming in from Queensland, Australia, the West Coast, or Gold Coast it's called?
The Gold Coast, yeah. The east side of Australia. Beautiful place. White sandy beaches, blue oceans, sharks, palm trees, you name it, we've got it. It's beautiful.
Wow. It sounds amazing to place to be in Australia right now. So my understanding is I met you through a post you had on Facebook. And in reading one of your posts last week, it really took my attention, and I reached out to you, and here we are today. And so rather than me share your bio, I'm going to invite you just to start where you feel comfortable, and we'll go from there.
Thank you very much. Well, I suppose the reason I'm here and the story I'll share started last October. I'm a solo parent of a beautiful little girl who was then 2. She's called Annabelle. Her father's not around, so it's her and I. We have a beautiful bond. I haven't been feeling particularly well for a few months, a few aches and pains in my body. I'd coughed a bit of blood. I'd been to the doctors a number of times. Last October, I had a pain in my chest, and I went to the doctors. And tragically, they found out that I had lung cancer. I was 39, non-smoker, fit, strong, what I thought was a healthy, young woman. The cancer was very aggressive. It had spread not only from my lungs, it was stage 4 terminal. It was also in my lymph nodes, my liver, my spine, hips, rib, shoulders. I was riddled with it. I was told by the specialist that I would only have between 6 and 12 months, 6 and 24 months to live. That was if the medication that they put me on would work. I immediately requested an operation. I said, let's get my lung out, part of my lung out. They said, you're too far gone. There's no hope. There's nothing we can do but put you on a targeted therapy drug. We're going to hope it's going to work, and we're going to offer you palliative care to go home with. And that's, I suppose, the very start of this story and this journey that I'm on right now.
So if I may paraphrase you, you originally went to the doctors for what you thought was bronchitis. And
Correct.
although you were coughing up blood, they at that time basically sent you home probably with some antibiotics.
Correct.
And said you're good to go.
Yeah.
And months later, in the fall, you decided to go back to the doctor because you had new symptoms that arose for you?
Yeah, I had more severe chest pains. Yeah, it was a massive, it was misdiagnosed.
Okay.
Had they caught it 6 months previously, I don't know what my outcome would be, whether it would be better than the one now given. But it wasn't caught. There's no point looking back. It wasn't caught, unfortunately. So it got me to a point where they said, look, soon you're going to be dead.
In the moment when the doctor gave you the diagnosis and the prognosis, which was probably way more devastating than the diagnosis, because what I heard you say was when you get the diagnosis, you were like, okay, let's get busy. What do we got to do to get rid of it?
Yeah, I was. Right? I was. Nothing's ever stopped me doing anything in my life. So, okay, you've got cancer. All right. It's chest cancer. Yep. we're gonna put you on chemotherapy and radiation. I even accepted that. Went, yep, sure. And can we chop the lung out while we're at it? You know, I'm ready to give this a red hot go. And it was no. This is not going to work for you. No one in your situation can live through this. So even at a push, we can only give you 2 years, and that's maximum. It could be as little as 6 weeks. When you're told that by the profession who we've always been taught and educated to look up to, the medical profession. Oh, you know, that person's a doctor, that person's a professional, he's a surgeon. Wow. When you're told by this person in front of you who've always looked up to and always respected that you're going to die, I don't think there's many of us that would disbelieve that. I didn't. So for 2 dark days, I did think that my life was soon going to be over. And of course, my first thought went to my little girl. My parents live in England. I live in Australia. So she couldn't live with them. Her dad's not around. It's just me. We're a very small family. So I just shook my head in bewilderment. I didn't know what was going to happen.
So when the doctors, I believe they couldn't even really offer you chemo or radiation. They were just going to give you a drug to hopefully extend your life for as long as your body would respond to this particular medicine. But if I'm correct, it was not chemo or radiation?
I had radiation given to me. It was on my hip because I had quite a sore hip. So I had 10 rounds of radiation, but I was specifically told this is not to kill the cancer. It will not stop the cancer. It will just take the pain away. I wish now I hadn't had radiation. The effects of that were quite horrific on me. So I wish I hadn't done that, but I did. And again, moving forwards, I wasn't offered chemotherapy, luckily, but I was put on a targeted therapy drug. That's for small cell lung cancer.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it was specifically said, this will not save your life. It will extend it only.
So you get that news, and then what happens next? You go home and you're sitting in it, and what did it, how did you process that, and what were the next immediate steps that you took?
Processing it wasn't easy. I've never been told anything like this in my life. The word cancer is, oh my gosh, that's a C word, that's a word I don't use. I don't know anyone who's had cancer. I don't know anyone who has passed away from cancer. But we just know that's a very frightening word to be thrown at you. So what actually happened was I went home, I grabbed 2 bottles of wine. I invited a couple of friends over to soften the blow. I sat with my family. I pretended nothing was wrong because I had my little girl around. So everyone was jovial, and there was this false laughter happening around the apartment. But it was horrible. It was a very dark day. But the very next day, I caught up with a friend of a friend, and he used to work alongside a cancer clinic. And I remember the conversation because the moment I saw him, he said, there are other options. There are other options here. So we sat down for a good 3 hours. And he spoke about an amazing clinic he knew of in Mexico. It was called Hope for Cancer in Mexico. And he started telling me about the success stories of people that had been to this clinic. That afternoon, I sat down with an independent oncologist outside of the mainstream hospital. And she mentioned the same clinic. She said, there's a clinic in Mexico. It's called Hope for Cancer in Mexico. And they do amazing things. They use non-toxic therapies and treatments, and they save lives. So at this point, already I started feeling a little bit of hope. So the day before, I'd been told, no chance, you're going to die. Less than 24 hours in, I started thinking, actually, there could be another option here.
I don't know if you believed in synchronicity before this moment in your life, but certainly within 24 hours to have a friend of a friend sit with you for 3 hours, and next day you go see an oncologist, and they both mention the exact same suggestion for you to consider.
Yes. And it wasn't mentioning 2 different clinics overseas. Of course, they've got amazing clinics in Japan, China, Germany, but the same clinic was mentioned twice. By that stage, I think my mind was made up. So I went home and I started researching. I started making the phone calls to this clinic. At the same time, the documentary, The Truth About Cancer, was also released. So I had my family on alert, watching that every single night, watching every single episode, and just lapping up the information that was released. And again, we were guided to that clinic for hope.
And so at this point, you decide you want to give it a shot,
Yeah.
but you had to also be looking at, there had to be some type of financial ramifications behind that. Because I'm sure they didn't take your insurance coming in from Australia and Mexico. What did that look like for you and your family?
Oh, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty, especially when you convert into American dollars. I was like, how much? But again, it doesn't matter. What's the price on life? There is no price on life. Everything I do from now on is for my little girl, Annabelle. It's not about me. It's not about my parents, my grandparents. It's about my daughter, who is now 3 years old. So whatever it was going to take, I was going to do. So flying to the side of the world, not a problem. Spending $65,000 on 3 weeks treatment, not a problem. And it's the most incredible decision I've ever made in my life. How my life has turned around so rapidly from being diagnosed in October to where it is now, which of course we'll touch on, is incredible. My life has gone a full 180 degrees. It is amazing.
Just listening to you share this statement right now. I'm watching your body language, and you have this incredible calm about you. I don't know that you're feeling that inside as we're sitting here having this conversation, but there's this aura about you, this calm. Have you always been this way, or is this something new?
No. Kate and calm don't normally go in the same sentence. I've always been very manic, busy, bustling, loud, lots of movement in my nature. But now I'm calm, and the main reason I'm calm is because I know I'm going to live. I know I'm going to live until I'm 90. If I choose to live till I'm 90, maybe 80 will be enough. But if I want to live till I'm 90, I will, because of the path that I'm now on. I think when you're faced with death, when you're faced with dying, of leaving those that you love the most, and then it's like you're given a second chance at life. I'm calm. Everything is calm around me. I'm happy. I'm focused. I'm positive. I know my path is set, and I know the journey is it's just the beginning, but it's going to be a positive one.
Thank you for sharing that, Kate. And I want to acknowledge, and I may end up doing this more than once on the show, but I really want to acknowledge how much I appreciate you, not only for coming into the studio today, but how you have chosen to navigate through this most challenging period, most likely the most challenging moment in your life, in this life. And I so much respect and love you for the fact that you have chosen not to keep your diagnosis, the prognosis, and your healing journey private. A lot of people go in and hibernate. A lot of people basically close the doors and choose to isolate in this situation. And what is remarkable is how you have taken the opposite decision in your life and come out very, very vocal. I know that you have a very active Instagram page where you have been sharing why don't you share a little bit about how you are utilizing Instagram today?
The decision wasn't set at the very start whether I would keep this private or whether I would go public with it. I'm in the public eye in that I'm a business owner in a small town, and word would soon enough get out. So eventually I was pushed into verbalizing my story, and I'm really happy that I did. It was a really positive move for me. The joy and the love and the care and the blessings that are sent to my daughter and myself every day is amazing. From Australia and beyond, from around the world, I'm given help, I'm given advice, direction, questions are answered. People who have cancer, who have survived cancer, cancer fighters, cancer warriors have all come forward to bless us with their knowledge and their guidance. It's a beautiful thing. So it's whatever I'm giving back to them, I'm receiving twofold back to Annabelle and I.
And at this point, do you feel like it has been the right decision to be so?
Every single part of it has been right. Absolutely, every single part of it has been correct. There's no way I'd go back. No way. It's great.
Yeah.
Makes me happy.
Yeah. I'd like to come back a little bit in the journey and invite you to share what happened when you made the decision. Obviously, you had to get your finances in order to be able to afford to go to Mexico to go to Hope for Cancer. Yeah. And if you are willing to share what transpired for you next, how did you pull all that together? What did that look like? And what happened once you got to the center?
Look, I'm very, very lucky in that I own a property, I own a business, I own a car. So in my view is you beg, steal and borrow to get whatever you need. So I remortgaged the house, I spent insurance money, I spent my life savings, I put it in a pot and said, right, I'm off. My parents, who had flown in from England, stayed in Australia and looked after my little girl along with her other grandmother. Again, she was my priority. My mum wanted to come with me to Mexico. I said, no, you stay here. You look after Annabelle. I'll be just fine. I grabbed a friend. I said, hey, babe, can you come to Mexico with me? She said, darling, whatever you need. So we grabbed our passports. Within about 2 weeks after being diagnosed, we were on a plane to Mexico. I've never been to Mexico. I didn't know what I was opening myself up for. I hadn't spent a lot of time researching this clinic. People said, why did you choose that clinic? And I think, no, that clinic chose me. It was other people that came forward and said, choose this clinic, Hope for Cancer, choose Hope for Cancer. It resonated with me. So I didn't do a lot of research. So I grabbed my friend, I grabbed my passport, I grabbed a suitcase and off we went. And it was the best decision ever. So we arrived in Mexico, beautiful place, very blessed that it's in Cancun. So it's on the Caribbean Ocean. It has white sandy beaches, palm trees, blue oceans. You are accommodated in a beautiful hotel, and then 6 days a week you go to this incredible cancer clinic, and it is healing people from all around the world. There were patients from South Africa, Germany, Australia, France, Ireland, America. We all had the one thing in common, that we knew that this was the place we needed to go and heal.
The way you described the Cancun and the accommodations, it sounds like a beautiful, relaxing vacation. But then you went on to say, however, you were there 6 days a week, I believe 7 hours a day.
Yes,
and
right.
on the you weren't there to kick it back and reboot with your toes in the sand. You were there to save your life.
Absolutely, and sometimes it's quite hard to remember why I was there, because I did have my feet in the ocean in the afternoons, and I could have grabbed a cocktail and jumped on a boat and done all these wonderful things. But I mean, it was an amazing place to go and heal. I think all that's part of it. So it took me away from my little girl just for 3 weeks, which was very hard. But also it took me out of the role of having to be a mum, of having to clean the house, of having to drop her to kindy and pick her up and do the cooking. So it takes you away from reality a little bit, where I could just be me. I could just work on myself, on my healing. So yeah, it was we had work to do, going to the clinic 6 days a week, very intense. You picked up at 7 a.m, you're not home till 3 or 4 in the afternoon. They were big days, but just full of non-toxic, healthy, natural treatments, which have just blown my mind.
How's about sharing what some of those treatments were? If you could describe what some of them are and were for you.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll try my best. As I say, they're all natural therapies. There's a lot of IV injections, vitamin C, mistletoe, B17 is a big one. I know it's not legal in America or Australia. That's probably one of the reasons I went. B17 is derived from apricot kernels. It holds a tiny bit of cyanide, but that's put in through an IV injection that goes in and eats away at the cancer. There's a lot of heat therapy. So cancer cells are weaker than normal cells, and they don't like heat. So Every second day, you put into a full body hypothermia tank. It's a human-sized pizza oven, if you will, and you lay in this tank, and it heats your body rapidly to fever point, and the heat again starts breaking down the cancer.
How long were you in this? How long were you in this particular machine?
For 45 minutes a day, which doesn't sound a lot. I was told,
Okay.
look, it's pretty awful. And I thought, well, I'm from Australia. I love the beach. I love the heat. So I thought, I'll nail this. Well, it was quite horrific. So you're in a position where you can't really move very well. It's incredibly hot. You're in temperature up until your neck, so your head's out. You have to sort of fight against claustrophobia. It goes against your body and your emotional state. It's pretty hardcore, but it works. I'm absolutely certain that it works. So that was a big one.
Okay, so now you're in getting treatment 7 hours a day.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about nutrition before the diagnosis and since, as well as while you were at Hope for Cancer.
Yeah, okay. So I've always been a healthy eater. I mean, I live in a very healthy environment. We go to the gym, we walk every day, we swim, we eat salad and fish and chicken, and that's about it. Now everything is plant-based. We've cut out meat, cut out dairy, raw, if we can, a lot of juicing, organic. It's incredibly important that anyone that is a disease must eat organically, because your liver can't take on anything else. It's trying to heal your body. It can't take on any toxins, pesticides, poisons going in. So anything I eat is now organic. So again, I eat very, very well. A lot of juicing, a lot of smoothies, a lot of fresh fruit, vegetable. Everything's got to be green. So it's changed it's changed in a best way possible. I've always been healthy, but now healthier.
And one of the debates that if you want to read about it, it's all over the internet, is the idea of eliminating as much sugar as possible from your nutrition. However, there's the debate regarding there are some doctors that believe that, well, fruit has sugar.
Yes.
Yet you're saying you're consuming fruit as part of your healing strategy right now.
Well, I'll correct that. So I would say 80% of my fruit and vegetable intake is going to be vegetables. So I had a smoothie this morning, and it was all vegetables plus a lemon. You know, I'm not eating melon and mango and strawberries every day. I am consuming predominantly green leafy vegetables. That's what you really want. But no, fruit is allowed, just a small amount. I don't reach out for an apple and a banana and an orange as I used to every day. But also I think now, look, I'm not a scientist, but I believe that your body accepts fructose very different to glucose. So one will feed the cancer, one won't. But
exactly.
Someone's going to jump forward and correct me on that, and they're very welcome. But you got to eat the right type of sugar. So nothing, no fake man-made sugar.
How did you find all of the guests that you met during your stay? Were they all of the same mindset as you were? Did you find some people that were?
Yeah, so we'd all been diagnosed in whatever sense, whether it was prostate cancer, breast cancer, brain cancer. We all had this one thing in common, and we all knew that we didn't want to go the direction of Western medicine. Some people had already had chemotherapy, had radiation. It obviously hadn't worked, and they said, I'm going to reach out for another option. Some people decided not to look at the Western medicine. They went straight to Hope for Cancer. So they were all of the same mindset. We were united in the reason we were there, and we were united in the reason we wanted to heal and move forwards. I'm still in contact with a lot of them. We have a Facebook group, and we all assist each other on down days, up days. We celebrate people's healing. We pray when someone goes in for an operation or whatever it is. So we're all of the same mindset.
While you're there, you're having all these, let's say, these physical treatments done.
Yeah.
What about the emotional and the mental side of attacking the disease and the prognosis. What happens on that aspect?
That's also addressed. That's also addressed. I mean, that's not something that's addressed by your average hospital back in Australia, but it's certainly addressed at Hope for Cancer Clinic. There's a psychologist on board who talks a lot about healing, about recall healing. So that's part of the program as well. It's my belief that stress, anxiety, depression has a lot to do with disease. It's not just about the failing of the body, it's about your mindset as well. So that's also addressed and dealt with while at the clinic.
Have you been able to determine, have an understanding from your perspective, what was the root cause of your disease?
Yeah. I had a very, very nasty marriage breakdown that happened exactly 2 years ago. And it is that you hold your grief in your lungs, and lo and behold, I suddenly have terminal lung cancer. I went to a clinic recently, just after getting back from Mexico, and I walked in and I filled out my paperwork and I handed the paperwork to the receptionist. The nurse then came out reading my paperwork. She grabbed my hand. I'd never met her before, and she said, "Darling, lung cancer." She said, "What happened to you 2 years ago?" And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "You have stage 4 lung cancer. Something quite horrible, quite tragic happened in your life 2 years ago." It's a well-known fact that stress and depression and anxiety and negativity is a major effect and a major component and a major cause with disease, cancer specifically.
And so you had your answer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've had the answer. Absolutely. It wasn't my body that failed me. It was my mind. Unfortunately, it was my broken heart that led to this.
Okay. Where are you at in the process of healing that part of your let's say your mind, your body, your soul, and your heart? Where are you at?
I'm pretty much there. I mean, that takes a long time. I don't know that I'll never forget the chapter that I went through. But I'm in a much better place now to understand that regret and resentment and hatred and sadness, it doesn't help. It hinders more than anything. There's no point. I'm only hurting myself, and in turn would be hurting my child. So you've got to let that go. You've got to let that go and turn that around into positivity.
Okay, so the way you say that, you make it sound very easy, like it's a light switch, like you can just flip it on and you can flip it off. What have you had to do for yourself? What type of changes have you had to make to navigate through that process of healing that broken heart? What does that look like?
Oh, it's taken a long time, and I've been in this situation for over 2 years now. So I have been seeing a psychologist. So I do talk that through. I meditate. I spend time on the beach. I talk to myself quite a lot. Annabelle always says, "Mummy, why are you talking to yourself?" She sees me doing this. It all helps to talk, to be open about the situation. Yeah, I think it's resonated with me now that I have had this horrific diagnosis that I have to be thinking about my mindset. I have to be thinking about my heart. I have to be thinking about my spirit, not just my body. So I've been put in this situation that I have to learn from this negative experience, and I have to push forwards through it.
Yeah, I love the word you just used, learn. Behind every painful moment in life, whether it be relationships, whether it be within ourselves, our wounds, our traumas, there's always the learning. And once we can identify what the lesson is that we needed to learn, then we can truly let it go and move on and actually switch maybe from anger and resentment and hate, perhaps some guilt and shame, if there's some of that in the toxic cocktail. Yes. Once we can understand what the lesson is, then we could shift to gratitude because we learned what we needed to learn and we don't have to learn it again.
So true. I'm not sure what my lesson was. I haven't quite got there yet, but I will in time. But I'm understanding, and what you're saying absolutely resonates with me, definitely.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'd like to kind of go back to, you're now towards the tail end of your 3-week stay, 21 days at Hope for
Yep.
Cancer.
Yeah.
And I listened to, you shared yesterday a podcast that you just did, I believe, in the last day or so.
Yeah.
Uh, and in the podcast, you kind of described when you walked into Hope for Cancer, your physical condition. And when you walked out, how did you walk in and what happened to you between that time and 21 days later?
Yeah, well, there was an issue. My main problem was I had aches and pains in all the areas where my cancer was. It was in my hip, in my lower back, in my spine, my shoulder. There's, a lot of cancer, a lot of pain. My real problem was my feet. For some reason, they started seizing up, not working. They were painful. I had problems even getting out of bed. I couldn't carry my daughter Annabelle. I could hardly get to the bathroom without peeing myself. So the doctors here in Australia and the hospital, they gave me about 20 different tests, but no one could identify what this problem was. So off I went to Mexico hobbling. Would hobble down the corridor at the clinic when I first started. After 21 days of treatment, my feet were working completely and utterly. I was running, jumping, dancing, laughing. I entered the clinic with 7 cancerous lymph nodes in my throat and my neck. I left with just 1 that still had cancer. So 6 had disappeared. This is within 21 days. The tumour in my lung, there was no blood going to that tumour. It had reduced certainly by 50%. No blood means there's no nutrition, so the tumour's going to die. We know that my white blood cell count had improved, my red blood cell count had improved. We know that the lesion in my liver had reduced in size. These results were absolutely remarkable. They were, and I think at the time I probably didn't understand how amazing they were, but it's only now that I've opened up and told people that they've just said these are mind-blowing results. But this wasn't a one-off for the clinic. There was another lady there who had almost identical diagnosis as I did. She was my age, 42, lives in America. She walked to out of that clinic after 3 weeks cancer-free. And she's had 2 more scans in the last 5 months, and she's still cancer-free. So they're doing incredible things.
When you said your white blood cell count when you went in was over 211 or in the 2s, correct?
Oh, I think that was the cancer markers. The cancer markers were at 211, and the most recent blood test shows me that they're at 24. So they are absolutely bang on point. They couldn't be better. They really couldn't.
Where do the cancer markers need to be in order to declare that you're healed? Do you know?
Oh, I honestly couldn't tell you. Yeah, I mean, I could still have cancer. I know there's still cancer in my body. I won't be sure exactly where it is until I have another scan in Australia in about 3 weeks' time. I think there's still cancer in my body, but from where I was for a few months ago to where I am now, it is mind-blowing. It's remarkable.
My understanding is most people tend to go to Hope for Cancer. They do 1 round, and they typically don't go back for multiple rounds. I would suspect maybe because either because he 100% healed, or because financially they're not able to pull it together.
Yeah.
How did your story turn out?
Well, I am on the other side of the world to this amazing clinic. So I was invited back for a complimentary checkup. If I was flying from the United States and it was 4, 5, 6 hours, I'd go for a couple of days. The checkup is only for a couple of days. But as it is the other side of the world, it's a 23-hour flight for me. I got such incredible results from the first round that I thought, you know what, I'm going to pull all my finances together and I'm going to go again. So I went back. I just got back last week and I did another 3 weeks at the clinic. I was fully supported by my family, by my in-laws, by my mum, my stepfather, grandfather. So we all decided that this was the best decision to move forwards.
How did you find the second round to be? Was it pretty much the same treatment plan, or had they shifted the plan now that you had made such significant progress?
My body responds so well to everything that they're doing at the clinic that I just said, look, if there's another level we can go to, and push the boundaries a little bit further, let's do that. So another couple of IVs were introduced. Most of the therapies are just the same, but again, I've come out with fantastic results. It's my belief that my cancer will be gone very, very soon. Some people are at ease with their cancer. They live with it. They say, look, it's not aggressive. It's not worrying me. I'm just going to, quietly ignore it. That's not for me at all. I'm a very black or white kind of girl. There's no grey zone. I'm not happy living with cancer. It needs to get out of my body ASAP. So, of course, as well as the treatments that I go and have in Mexico, I follow a very strict regime when I'm at home, a very strict protocol. So I'm sent home with 3 months worth of medication. I'm sent home with injections, tablets, powders. I've got a laser watch which I wear, which the lasers go in and attack the cancer. I have an ultrasound machine, and I use these things daily. I continue doing coffee enemas. I do a red light sauna. I do baric oxygen. Whatever the clinic has guided me to do, I'm continuing to do 5 days a week. And I do have a saying that I set for myself. I've dedicated my life to saving my life.
Beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
Can you say that one more time, and this time say it like you really mean it?
Oh, I have dedicated my life to saving my life.
Thank you for that. I felt that, and I feel that all the way across the lake.
Oh, you're gonna make me tear up now. I really have. Everything I do, as I said before, it's all for my little girl. Everything. She needs her mummy more than anything in the world. And I'm going to do anything and everything that I need to do to stay in her life for a very long time to come.
I presume she's not aware of your health diagnosis, I presume, correct?
No, she knows nothing. She knows nothing. When she knew that. I mean, I couldn't hide the fact that I had sore feet. So she'd say, "Yeah, Mum, how's your feet, Mummy?" And I said, "They're just fine, darling." When I use my ultrasound machine, I say it's for Mummy's muscles. So sometimes she can help me. It's just, she just rubs the ultrasound on my neck or my chest or something. She just thinks she's helping my muscles. She wants to help for 2 minutes and gets bored. But no, when I go away, she's told that Mummy is going overseas. I'm a buyer. I have a shop in Australia, and I travel a bit for my business. I'm an importer. So I just say that Mummy has to go away for work, and Mummy's going to Indonesia to buy things for the shop. It gets harder as she gets older because she's more emotional now, and she can tell me on a daily basis how much she misses me and question why she's not with me, and that really hurts. That really pulls on the heartstrings. But I remind myself that everything I'm doing for her. So no, she has no idea, and she doesn't need to know. She's 3. She needs to be protected from all of this, so she doesn't see my needles or my medications. No, she doesn't know. She thinks Mummy's just fine, and you know what? Mummy is just fine. I'm just going through a slightly rocky chapter at the moment. But I'm clear to coming out the other end, I'm sure.
I love wearing this shirt, Hope, Choose Hope, because what hope means to me is 2 acronyms that I've worked on for some time now. The first one is healing our perspective every day. And that is so huge when you are made the choices like you have to not accept a prognosis and choose to live, choose to fight for your life. And understanding that it's not just a physical care that we need to focus and heal, but we do have to focus in healing our perspective, which is our thoughts, our mind, because it's our mind that creates the disease in the first place. The mind-body connection is so significant. Yep. And Western medicine is a little bit behind in understanding that. They're not quite there yet. From my experience, having been managing the diagnoses and prognoses that I went through back in 2015. However, the other one is healing our physical experience. And therein lies, the second part of it. There's the body connection. I do want to ask you, the other word that really comes up for probably 99% of the people that receive a diagnosis like you got is the word fear. And I'd like to know what that has meant for you and how you have processed it and manage it on a day-to-day basis. And where is your relationship with fear today?
Fear's got nothing on me. Fear has nothing on me. So for 2 dark days, I'm being diagnosed. You're going to die. There's nothing we can do for you. Petrified, fear. This is out of my control. There's nothing that can be done. I have been told I am going to die. There's a death sentence. But as soon, as soon as I reached out and I allowed other people to guide me, there's no fear anymore. I think my blessing is my ignorance to cancer. I know nothing about it. I don't research it. I don't Google it. I don't ask for time frames. I don't want to know. So I don't look into it. All I want to know is how to heal myself. And so far, I'm doing a bloody good job. I'm happy with where I'm at. Everything's going in the correct direction. So no, I don't have fear. Maybe I'm of the minority. There's no fear for me at all.
Did you come from have any religious faith in your lifetime or spiritual?
Not at all. No, not at all. Not at all. I suppose I'm getting a little bit more spiritual as I grow older. But I'm certainly not religious. My family aren't religious. I just believe in humanity and good of people, and be nice to them and they'll be nice to you. So it's all in the same respect, I think. But no, not religion as such.
Okay. And from a let's say from a spiritual perspective, did you meet people there that were in Hope for Cancer? I know you met all kinds of people, like you said, from globally all over the world. Does Hope for Cancer have any? Because I know I looked on some of their information on their website and all, and they do mention spirituality as being one of the 7 or 9 components of the healing process. How did they weave that into the treatment?
Oh, let me think. I don't know that I can answer that actually. In what sense did they weave that in? I can't honestly tell you how that was put in place. Sorry.
It's okay. Perhaps maybe they leave it up to the individual.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now going back to you got your updates after your first round, you decide to come back for a second 21 days.
Yep.
And my understanding is you got some assistance from your insurance company.
Yeah. Well, in Australia, when you're told you're going to die, if you're going to die within 24 months, they pay up. And I know it's different in the United States. So I wouldn't call myself lucky, but it has certainly helped my financial situation. So yeah, I mean, obviously the doctors do think that they now say I only have 18 months to live. That's going by the trials of the drug that they have put me on. But when they do see my results at the hospital, they do say, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And to quote them, they have said that you are breaking the mold. Your results are remarkable. But they won't mention the alternate therapies because they haven't got enough knowledge on. So just on the medication that they've got me on, they're not quite understanding how I'm doing quite so well. But yes, I've had my pension paid out and my health insurance paid out.
At this time, are you still under the care of the doctors in Australia, and are you on the traditional medicine that they suggested for you?
Yeah, I don't necessarily have a doctor. I don't have a personal doctor. I decided not to go back to her when I was diagnosed. She told me to go home, eat biscuits, drink wine, spend time with my little girl before I died, pretty much. So I haven't been back to her. I believe that I need individuals who are on my path, who are supporting me, who will hold my hand through this. And she certainly wasn't going to be holding my hand. So we haven't seen her again. Yes, I'm still under the care of the hospital in that I have to visit them once a month to have my blood test taken to see where my bloods are at. And they give me their targeted therapy drug. So I think I may as well continue taking that drug. It could well be part of my healing, whether it's 10%, 20%, 50%, I don't know. but they themselves have said that it will not cure me, it will not heal me. So that's the only contact I have. So once a month, I don't have an oncologist that I can reach out to and talk to on a daily basis, or a phone call that I can, a phone number that I can call. But I can call Mexico. I can email Mexico. I do have calls from them once every 2 weeks, just checking up and seeing how I am. So with that, plus the support of my Instagram family, as I'll call it, I feel very much nurtured, cared for, looked after, and loved.
Beautiful. How are you feeling in this moment right now? It seems like your energy levels come down a little bit, like you're maybe a little tired. Are you okay?
Yeah, I think maybe I'm still jet lagged. Actually, I only got back less than a week ago from Mexico, and back into the full swing of being mummy, and being business owner, and running around trying to keep the house tidy and things. So my energy levels are always pretty high. As you can probably tell, I'm quite energized.
Okay.
But no, it's only due to jet lag at the moment, I think.
Okay. At this point, what I'd like to ask you to do, well, two things. One, if you could maybe share what's the biggest takeaways from how your life has changed as far as, let's say, your emotional, your mental, and your physical, let's say, well-being since you've started along this journey. How has Kate changed?
Um, well, Kate has calmed down quite a lot. Kate has slowed down. Kate has taken more notice of the important things in life, of my daughter, of friendships, of nature, of the beach. Kate was always quite manic, always busy, always doing something, always planning, always organizing. And now I let it be. I just let myself be. I nurture myself and my little girl. We walk on the beach. We go camping. We slow down, and I try and connect with my body more. I try and understand what my body is trying to tell me. Whereas before, I push past it, and I'd still make sure I was up at 5 in the morning to go to the gym, or I was up at 10 o'clock at night still working on the computer. Now if I need to rest, I rest. If I need to eat, I eat. If I need to sleep, I sleep. So I've just had to learn to relax, and let life take me on the journey as opposed to me taking life, I think.
I'd like to share with you that when I hit my rock bottom in my own, let's say, in my own life, I didn't know how. I pretty much was very much like you, as you just described. Always very active, very busy, keeping very busy, but totally, let's say, disconnected from who I really was at my core. And what I learned along my healing journey when I started out was that what I lacked in my life was something called, well, two things. One was self care, and the other was self love. I lacked in both of those areas for myself. And I believe that I know that's what contributed to my body physically breaking down. Where were you in regards to those two areas in your life prior, and where are you today?
Oh, well, I think it's only in hindsight that you realise how damaging you can be to yourself. At the time, I didn't realise I was being anything to myself. But I'll admit, I was drinking a lot. I'd had a horrible marriage breakdown. I'd often drink a bottle of wine at night, but think nothing of it. Would still get up and go to the gym and walk on the beach and do all those things the next day. But I probably wasn't taking the best care of myself as I should. I'd been through quite a dark area. But now, yeah, it's listening to yourself and caring for yourself, and maybe giving yourself the allowance of having a massage once every 2 weeks, or giving yourself the allowance of meditating, taking time out on a daily basis and meditating, or speaking of daily mantras or affirmations, just taking a little bit of time out for you, whether it's praying, meditating, yoga, spirituality, religion, whatever it is, you just take something for you. So you're not just mother, sister, daughter, brother, uncle. You are yourself. So I just need to be Kate for a little while, which is not always easy to do, in this busy, bustling life of ours. But just be yourself for a little while and just breathe.
I suspect that when you're on 100% on the back end and you have declared that you are 100% cancer free, that you will never go back to how it was.
No, gosh, no, none of it will go back. My mindset, my diet, nothing will go back. This is going to make me a better person, both physically and emotionally. I'm going to be a very healthy, comfortable person within myself, and that's going to reflect in my daughter as well. So there's nothing but positivity is going to come from this. I've been sent this challenge. I don't know why, but I'm taking it I'm taking it by the horns. I'm taking it head on, and this is going to change me in very, very positive ways.
Well, it's interesting how you're talking about it from a future sense.
Yeah.
It will. But if I may, I'm gonna interject here and correct you in saying that I believe you already have. There's always more, and we continue to grow and learn. But you are well on your way, Kate. You are already have made some significant changes in your life, and that's why you are healing. And I could tell you that from my own healing journey, that I too, I didn't understand what the lesson was initially, because I was just in so much pain, emotional pain, and mental and physical pain when I was in the hospital. But I could tell you that once I allowed myself to start the healing journey and process and started to experience how I could feel differently, I really had a new appreciation for what truly was important in life. And it wasn't any of the things that I was chasing for 54 years. I was chasing everything on the external. And what I didn't understand was that I had everything that I needed. It was always here. It was within myself. And that's what I'm feeling with you this evening. And for you, it's your daytime in Australia, that you're a beautiful woman. You have so much to offer, first and foremost to yourself, and therefore being able to give it to your daughter and to those that are in your life. And I will say that the lesson perhaps you may find has to do with just learning how to just be. It could be as simple as that, just to slow down enough to smell the roses, smell the flowers, and appreciate what you have. And because that's what happened for me. I learned how to slow down enough to understand what truly was important in my life. And it wasn't the things that I thought it was.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That resonates with me for sure.
And so we are just about at the hour. I know we are coming up to the time in the show where I'd like to ask you to maybe put a pretty bow on the show and share some closing thoughts for yourself and maybe for someone else that may be going through a diagnosis that they just received or they're about to receive. If they catch us on live or replay, perhaps there's some words of wisdom that you could share that may help someone have the courage to move forward in their own healing journey.
Oh, I think it's very important to know that there are more than one path that we can take. You just need to know where to look to find that assistance and guidance. So I would say speak up about how you're feeling, what your diagnosis is, reach out to others, and hopefully they'll guide you to where you're supposed to be. I know that I was guided to the clinic in Mexico, and I've never looked back. But there's always another way. There's always another option.
How many people that you met there were utilizing, let's say, a hybrid, where they were going with the traditional care, but also the treatment at Hope for Center? Did you find that a number of people were utilizing a hybrid treatment?
Yeah. I mean, a lot had either tried or were continuing, but I think then there were those that went straight to the clinic. I do know one lady that she found out she had breast cancer. Something popped up on her TV screen that same day saying hope for cancer, and she went straight there. We're now knowing that Western medicine, well, in Australia, I think success rate from chemotherapy is about 4%. So most of us want better odds than that. I know I need better odds. So I think lots of us are now taking that step first, is the alternate route. But for those that haven't, yeah, they're mixing the two, and they work very well together.
What was your experience with Dr. Tony Jimenez and his wife Marcy, the founders of the center?
God, you just say those names and my heart warms. I have this smile on my face. What beautiful, grounded, humble, caring, loving people they are. I was very, very lucky to have actually met Dr. Tony on both of my visits, and this last visit met his darling wife. So they have been doing what they're doing for a very long time. Tony travels the world. He educates himself. He educates others. He's just on top of alternate care. He's a very well educated man. If anyone actually gets the chance to sit with him and listen and take from him, please do. He's amazing.
He just shared a podcast that he did with Dr. Mercola recently, and was listening to the podcast today, and quite a brilliant man, and the work he's doing is beyond exceptional.
Phenomenal.
My understanding is they've got 3 centers in Mexico, one in Tijuana, one in Cancun, and the third one, do you recall where that one is?
No, I didn't know of the third one. I only know of the 2. So one in Cancun,
okay.
One. Yes, yeah.
And my understanding in his interview with Dr. Mercola today is that he is working on opening one in China, in Beijing.
Okay, I didn't know that either. I do know they're going to have one in Thailand opening up in the next few weeks, perhaps in the next 4 to 6 weeks, I think. And that will be a great point for certainly Australians to get to. It's only going to be about an 8-hour flight.
Beautiful. That's
as opposed
beautiful.
to a 23-hour flight. So that's fantastic.
I've extended an invitation to Dr. Jimenez, the founder of Hope for Cancer, to come into the studio and join me to have a conversation, and he has graciously accepted.
Amazing. Make sure that's a long segment, because you're just going to want to lap up every word that gentleman says.
Well, just listening, and I didn't get through the full podcast due to my own scheduling today, but about 50% into it, and I was blown away by some of the statistics that he shared with Dr. Mercola regarding the success that they have had and continue to have. And the statistics were not in-house statistics, but done by a third party, comparing the success rate after 2 years. I'm not going to share those numbers here right now. I don't want to steal it from Dr. Jimenez.
Yeah, absolutely.
I anticipate he'll be in the studio in the next week or two, and I'll make sure to let you know when he's coming in, so you can support him.
Absolutely, I'll be gripped to that one. Yeah.
Okay. Well, in any event, at this point, is there anything else that you'd like to share or say before we?
I think we've covered everything. I just will reach out and say, thank you for all the support that I have been shown from Australia and globally. So every little bit helps. And it's very important if you are going to be a companion of someone who is fighting any form of disease, that you are there for them, that you hold their hands, that you spend time with them, that you care for them. So family members and friends and companions are incredibly important in any journey to healing. So yeah, it's been great. Thank you.
Kate, again, thank you for joining me live today on Real People, Real Health. And I look forward to continuing to stay in touch with you and be one of your biggest cheerleaders and supporters as you continue to navigate through your healing journey. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't care what the numbers and what the tests show. Kate, you are healed today.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm going to take that. I'm going to hold that. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right. If you don't mind, if you could stay in the studio just for an extra couple of moments here so that we can just have a personal moment. Thank you for joining us live today. If you caught us live, thank you for being here. If you catch us on a replay, we're never too early and we're never too late. We just show up on time. So thank you for joining us. We'll catch you tomorrow. I've got a show at, I believe it's 6:30 Mountain Time on our Real People, Real Stories Raw, coming in with a author and two of the people that are actually in the new book, Sacred Hearts Rising, with Brenda Hammond. So that'll be coming in tomorrow night, 6:30 on Real People, Real Stories. For now, my name is Jay Rothman, and thanks for joining us this evening on Real People, Real Health.